Okay. That's what I'm talking about. I feel like it's Zeke Elliott. Keep feeding me. Keep feeding me. We went 4-1 yesterday. That's now 3 straight days where we have made profit, and we've also won in 4 of the last 5. We're starting to feel really good again. The wheels, they're starting to turn. Of course, last week, or not last week, but sometime in the last few days, if you look at that 7 day span, we had lost in 4 of the 7 days, but we still had a profit during that time. That should have been an indicator that good things were going to come. Now, who knows if we're going to get as hot as we did a few weeks ago, where we won 5 straight days, lost, then won 5 straight days again. I know there was a point in time where we had won in 13 of the last 16 days. That's a tough ask. That's a tough mountain to climb, but I'll tell you what, I'm feeling pretty good, and I am feeling especially good about these picks that I've got cooked up for the Saturday MLB schedule. Now, before I jump into the picks, a little reminder here. I'm giving $100 to one random subscriber who hits that subscribe button before I reach the 1,000 milestone. So if you're one of the first 1,000 people to subscribe to this channel, you will automatically be entered in the opportunity to win $100. I will pick one person at random and send it to them when I do hit 1,000 subscribers. So make sure that you are locked in not only for that, but for these picks that are coming up, because baby, it's pick 5, win 5. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Welcome back to my daily betting show, where it is my job to give you my 5 favorite plays in the sports betting world. Like I said, we're coming off of a 4-1 day yesterday. We're going to start off with the wins. The Dodgers-Padres, that was pretty good. The Dodgers walk in a few runs. Then they get a couple RBIs in the 8th inning. They ultimately shoot that line over. I thought the 8 line was just too low. And ultimately, it took us a little bit to get there, but it did pay off. Orioles -1.5. They were up 2-0 versus the Mets. The Mets come back to make it 2-2. And then the Orioles just blow the doors off of them. I believe they win that one 10-3. Orioles looking like the best team in the American League East, maybe even in the American League. Who knows? Astros moneyline versus the Yankees. That was a gimme with Luis Severino on the bump. The Yankees were never going to be formidable, and I ultimately trusted the Astros to win that game, just like I did the day before when they lost. I said, fool you once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. Well, that didn't happen. I'm no fool, and there's no shame. The Astros cover our backs. And then, guys, the contentious pick, the one that I saved for the end of the show because it just blew my mind, the under of 8.5 in the Cubs-Braves game. I said every fiber in my being tells me to go over. Every stat and statistic I can find tells me to go over, so we're taking the under. It was just a trap. I said if I was making that line, I would have put it at 10.5 or 11. They put it at 8.5. I bet the under. The Braves score 7 runs in 1 inning, but the game finishes 8-0, and it does go under. Now, we did miss out on the 5-0 because Alek Manoah was actually pretty good. Failed to take into account that he has been better on the road than he has been at home. The Blue Jays beat the Red Sox when we had the Red Sox at -1.5, but that was only 1 loss compared to 4 wins. We profit over 2.5 units on the day, and we will absolutely take that. Now, let's go ahead and jump on over into Saturday's picks, and we're going to start it out with a pick that I've made 3 days in a row now. The Houston Astros money line versus the New York Yankees. Like I said, picked them on Thursday, picked them on Friday, and I'm picking them again Saturday. On the mound in this one. This is why I love this pick so much, especially for the value of -130. That's an absolute joke. This should be -150, -160 at least. On the mound for the Astros is Justin Verlander. Now, he's 6-5 with a 3.15 ERA and a 1.14 whip, but his numbers have been awesome lately. He just had his best month of the season. He had a 1.69 ERA in July. And of course, now he is back with the Astros, where he was in the World Series damn near every year, and he won a couple of titles. This is a guy who's back in familiar territory. He's going to be more motivated than he ever was with the Mets, and I think you're going to see the benefits of that in this game. He's also taking on Nestor Cortez, who, while he was good in recent memory, those memories have not come from this season because he's 5-2, but with a 5.16 ERA and a 1.30 whip. Nestor Cortez is also making his long-awaited return from the injured list. This is going to be his first start back out there. But for what it's worth, the last time he was playing, his ERA in that month, which I believe it was May. His ERA in that month was a 5.47. One thing I didn't mention about Verlander, because he was with the Mets, he just faced the Yankees about 2 weeks ago, and he threw a 6-inning shutout against them. He had a 1 whip in that game, had 2 hits, 4 walks in 6 innings. So we're feeling pretty good about Verlander. We're also feeling good about the Astros offense. They won yesterday 7-3, and they have won now in 4 of their last 5 games. They are third in scoring since the All-Star break. The Yankees are all the way down at 24th. I don't want to repeat myself too much with the numbers or the narratives here. The Astros are really good. The New York Yankees are really bad. Third day in a row picking them. I'm feeling pretty good with this value and Verlander. That's pick number 1 of the show. Our second pick, I'm taking the Tampa Bay Rays. I almost said the Houston Rays. The Tampa Bay Rays -1.5 versus the Detroit Tigers. This is a plus money bet and one that I absolutely love. Now, we have 2 good pitchers on the mound, but I like the Rays better from what we've seen this season. He goes by the name of Aaron Savali. He's 5-2 with a 2.34 ERA and a 1.04 WHIP, going against Tarik Skubal, who's 1-1 with a 4.57 ERA and a 1.04 WHIP. I actually really like Skubal, but I do like Savali more with what he's been able to do this season. Now, Savali is making his debut with the Rays. He was on the Guardians up until this point in the season, and he was very good. He had, in fact, just had a 1.45 ERA in the month of July, and now he gets to join one of, if not the best pitching staffs in baseball as an incredibly talented and impressive player in and of himself. Skubal was out for a majority of the season up to this point. He's only played 5 games. 3 of them have been shutouts, but in one of them he gave up 4 earned runs, and in the other he gave up 7. So it's been a mixed bag of results. Skubal, like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of his. I think he's a very good pitcher. I would attribute this to him not really having any sort of rhythm, again, coming off of the long hiatus. And he's getting his feet wet again. That's the best way I can put it. Now, the last time we saw him, it was that game where he gave up 4 earned runs. Only took him 4.2 innings to do it, and it was against the Miami Marlins, who are bottom 5 in scoring since the All-Star break. They can't really hit anything, so that's not very encouraging, especially given how dominant Savali has been. These teams are pretty much neck and neck as far as scoring recently. They're ranked 22nd and 23rd since the All-Star break. However, the Rays have scored 4+ runs in 7 of their last 9 games. They're also averaging 5.5 over the last 5 games. The Tigers in the last 3 games have gone 0 runs, 6 runs, 1 run. They're much more erratic. They're much more up and down. They're a lot harder to predict, but in general, you can count on them to help you trend under. But the Rays, it seems like they've regained their confidence and their swagger at the plate. The Rays also have a much better bullpen. They just won Friday 8-0. We're going to take the Rays -1.5 for the second pick of the show. At number 3, we are going with the Atlanta Braves -1.5, also for plus money, versus the Chicago Cubs. Now, I'm not discounting the Cubs here because what they have done since the All-Star break has been impressive. I believe they still have the best record in baseball during that time. They're near or at the top in most of the offensive metrics. However, we've hit the point where the Braves are starting to get back in that territory of anytime there's good value on them, money line or run line, you bet them. They're just unstoppable. It looks like they've started to hit that point again. For the Braves, Bryce Elder will be the starting pitcher. He's 8-2 with a 3.18 ERA and a 1.19 WHIP, going against what looks to be a bullpen day for the Cubs. So we don't have to spend too much time talking about any individual players. The Cubs bullpen has been really good as of late. It's been very, very good. If you look at the ERAs from the relievers since the start of June, so for the last 2 months, they rank 3rd. The problem for them is the Braves rank 2nd. So the one thing they are truly excellent in, the Braves are somehow even better. Now, if we do look at Elder, he hasn't been at his best lately. His ERA, I forget what it is, but it's somewhere in the 4 or 5 region. But in his last 2 starts, he's only given up 3 earned runs in 13 innings. We also know he's a very talented and very trustworthy pitcher. He also gives up just 1 home run every 10 innings, which is very important considering how lively the Cubs bats have been. If he can limit their ability to hit home runs, he will go a long way towards helping his team not just win this game, but also cover the run line -1.5. Like I said, the Braves, they've really hit that level again. Over the last 7 games, they have won 6 of them. They covered in all 6 of those wins, and they've outscored their opponents 55-28 during that stretch. They have nearly doubled up on the runs scored versus runs allowed, which is kind of insane. They just beat the Cubs 8-0 on Friday, that game, which I took the under in and then ultimately ended up hitting. All 8 runs were courtesy of the Braves here. They've got multiple players that are on fire at the plate, and as good as the Cubs, as good as they have been since the All-Star break, we know the Braves have been the much, much better team over the course of the season. Love to see the Cubs get over 500, but it's the Braves here. Anytime they're at good value on the run line or the money line, I'm probably going to be taking them. So Braves -1.5, that's the third pick for this Saturday schedule. Our fourth pick of the show, I'm going to go with the Guardians money line versus the Chicago White Sox. On the bump in this one is going to be Michael Kopech for the White Sox. He's 4-10 with a 4.49 ERA and a 1.44 WHIP. Going against Noah Syndergaard of the Guardians now. He's 1-4 with a 6.68 ERA and a 1.38 WHIP. Now, Syndergaard was having a very bad season, the worst of his career by far, and it seemed like maybe he just needed a fresh start. I guess Los Angeles wasn't working out for him. He just needed to go somewhere else, and I'm not guaranteeing that because we've only seen one game from him in his new threads. But in that game, he only gave up one earned run in 5.1 innings. He just seemed to have a lot more control of his pitches. He seemed to have a lot more confidence out there. Who knows? Maybe the bright lights got to him. Maybe there was some family issues, some personal trouble. Who knows? It could be a number of factors, but he looked a lot better in that debut, his Guardians debut. And that gives me some hope. And now Kopech, he does the opposite. He takes hope away from me. In the month of July, he had a 6.61 ERA. He gave up 7 home runs. He gave up 7 home runs in just 4 games, at least 1 home run in all 4 of those games. The White Sox are also the 3rd lowest scoring team since the teams came back from the All-Star game. The White Sox have lost 5 straight and 11 of their last 13. The Guardians won on Friday 4-2. I don't quite have enough confidence in Syndergaard flipping that switch and returning to a serviceable pitcher, but I do think the Guardians are the better team, so I'm going to take them not on the run line, but on the money line. So Guardians money line, that's the fourth pick of the show versus the White Sox. Before I get into my final pick here, guys, one final reminder, make sure that you are subscribed to the channel. Not only am I giving my best betting picks every day for the MLB calendar, but I've been posting NFL team previews. I'm going to be putting out my predictions for every NFL team's records. And of course, when the time comes, we're going to be incorporating those NFL picks into the Pick 5, Win 5 series. And on top of all that, like I said, I'm giving away $100 to one random subscriber. So make sure that you have smashed that subscribe button. And let's get into this final pick of the day. It's going to be the under of 7.5 in the Giants Athletics game. Now, on the mound for these two teams will be Ross Stripling of the Giants. He's 0-4 with a 5.52 ERA and a 1.34 WHIP. Going against Paul Blackburn, who's 2-2 with a 4.83 ERA and a 1.57 WHIP. Now, I know you might be thinking to yourself, why on God's green earth, or whatever religion you believe in, why on their earth, or maybe you're not a religious person. I'm digging myself a hole here. I'm sorry. We're just going to move on. Why am I taking the under when these pitchers have been so bad? Because the offenses have been even worse. But I'll dive into that in just a second. Stripling, he got his ERA down to 3.71 last month. That's certainly an improvement. And then Blackburn, his last 2 outings were arguably his best of the season. He gave up 3 earned runs in 11.1 innings. So that's an ERA of under 3. Obviously, it's somewhere in the mid-2 region. So these pitchers are coming in with some level of confidence. And then the offenses have been downright atrocious. I wish there was some sort of relegation system like you see in European soccer. I wish we could relegate these offenses from the leagues. I certainly don't ever want to see them on TV. Not that I do. I don't get them on the national airwaves, but when I'm streaming these games through outlets that won't be mentioned, I unfortunately am forced to put my eyes on them, and they've been awful. These two teams rank last and 4th worst in scoring since the All-Star break. The Athletics in their last 4 games have scored 6 total runs. The Giants in their last 7 games have not scored more than 4 runs. So these offenses just can't do a damn thing. They're hitting .206 and .226 since the All-Star break. The Athletics do have the worst bullpen ERA in baseball, which is something to watch out for. But the Giants have the 3rd best bullpen ERA, so it kind of mitigates that worry to a certain extent. You can count on there not being a ton of runs in the late game coming from the Giants side. And again, the pitchers are coming in with some level of confidence. The offenses have been absolutely atrocious, grotesque. They make you want to vomit. Whatever synonyms or adjectives you want to use for them, they have been that as long as they are negative. So the under 7.5, that's the final pick of the show. Let's do the rundown one time for the one time. First pick of the show, I'm going with the Astros money line versus the New York Yankees. Then we've got the Tampa Bay Rays -1.5 versus the Detroit Tigers. After that, I like the Braves -1.5 versus the Cubs. Then we go Guardians money line versus the White Sox. And we wrap it up with Giants Athletics under 7.5 runs. Guys, we have been killing it as of late. We are up, I believe, over 12 units in the last 3 weeks. As a matter of fact, let me just double check because I don't want to get that number wrong. And of course, I have to close all of the tabs that I have open. And let's see, and coming up in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Here we go. We are up 12.787 units in the last 3 weeks, which is when we started keeping track of that stuff. We've been hitting an awful lot of winning days, and I'm feeling pretty good about this. So smash that subscribe button, like the video if you did enjoy, comment, let me know what your favorite picks of the day are, which of my picks you like, which of them you don't like. And until next time, I will see you all very soon. Have a great day.